Hello, welcome to the Product for Product podcast. It's Matt and Moshe here again to continue our discussion on the topic of product analytics. Today we're discussing a product called Mixpanel. Mixpanel is a product analytics solution for product managers that allows them to gain insights into how their customers are using their products so they can improve their customer experience. We're also happy to welcome our guest today, Jan Bilek. Jan is a product manager and a user of Mixpanel. Jan, please take a sec to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. My name is Jan, and I'm product manager at Localazy. Localazy, we are a translation management platform. We're focused on app developers and their teams. I know there are quite a few localization solutions on the market already, but they're mostly focused on large enterprises and translation agencies. But developer focus and automatization is where they usually fall short. But that's why we came up with the product. As for myself, I started my career as a software developer a couple of years ago, and then I moved into the freelancing work for some time, and which eventually brought me here to Localazy. So we're a small team of around 10 people at the moment, and we're still at the seed round startup.
That's very cool. Startups are always very exciting. So you're a product manager right now, and you're using Mixpanel for some time. And Mixpanel is our topic for today for product analytics. How long have you been using it?
We wanted to use this, at least some product analytics tools since the very beginning of our company, which was exactly a year ago. Mm-hmm. However, since at that time we didn't have any users yet, there wasn't many things we could track. And also we could get much more valuable information from different type of user analytics, like full story, which help us to understand our initial users and their behavior. But we started to get some real valuable data from Mixpanel last summer, which was at that point, we started to use it actively. So it's like 9 months right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you describe to us Mixpanel and what it is and how you use it?
Yeah, I think that Mixpanel is a very well-known product analytics tool, and I believe that everyone involved in product management at least heard about it. Mm-hmm. But the principle is very simple. It allows you to collect user events from different sources through its API or SDKs. And once you collect enough data, you can create very powerful reports inside Mixpanel. These reports are then built in a way which helps you to answer and track most important questions about your product. And it gives you great insight on who your users are and how they are using your product. So Mixpanel offers a couple of reports,
so they have reports like out of the box that
like
you're using?
Are they like CAN reports, basic reporting?
Oh yeah, they have I would say 5 basic reports. One of them are insights and these classic funnels and flows and retention. So this is the core of the product. Then you have more advanced functionality like signals, which allow you to get some correlations between events and stuff like that, but they're mostly on enterprise plan. So they have 3 plans. This enterprise plan is a full-featured one.
And which one of those plans are you using?
We are on business plan.
Oh, okay. What was the reason that you guys decided to use Mixpanel? I'm sure that you looked at some other options and eventually
exactly. We wanted to use some product analytics tools since the very beginning of our company, which was, as I said, it was a year ago. But at that time, we didn't have any users yet. We started from zero, but there wasn't anything we could track. And also, as I said, we could get much more information from different type of user analytics, but we need a tool which is kind of quick to set up and simple to use so everyone in the team can find the right answers. And we had another requirement, which was an ability to push the data through API and export them. And also another requirement was integrations with some marketing tools. So all of these requirements were fulfilled by Mixpanel really well. So we decided to try it out. And when I got in contact with some account manager in Mixpanel, they gave us this pleasant bonus in the form of some startup credits. So it was for free for us for the start.
That's nice.
Yeah. But I think it's a pretty common sales technique, and all other competitors offer this type of deals as well.
Yeah, startups has their own challenges. Like you mentioned, not having in the beginning enough users to collect the data, but then also paying for some of the products. So it is nice when providers do provide this option. And I encourage all the listeners, when you choose a product, doesn't really matter which product for analytics or other things. If you're a startup, check with them if they have a startup option, because not all of them do put it in their marketing website. And it's actually something that many product companies actually offer.
Exactly. Most of the time, it's not written anywhere. You just need to contact with them and ask if they offer these bonus for startups. And in case of Mixpanel, it was the case. It wasn't written on the website, but they have this offer.
Did you compare Mixpanel with any other solution like Amplitude or Heap?
Mixpanel was our choice for multiple reasons. Biggest added value compared to the competitors was that the UI was very simple and clean, and it was almost no onboarding efforts to get the data you need. Compared, for example, when I opened Amplitude, I had a hard time navigating around and finding the reports I needed, and their UI was quite a bit cluttered. But in Mixpanel, everything seemed really straightforward, simple, so that's why I decided to try it out.
That's great.
I felt like I understand it right from the beginning.
That's what you expect from a product tool, so that's great to hear. That's really good feedback.
Yeah, learning curves are definitely important here. Especially when we don't want to invest too much time in learning these new systems. So when something is simple to use, etc. But do you think that the simplicity is also means that it has less features than the other systems, or you didn't find that an issue?
I felt like, for example, Amplitude is packed with features, but Mixpanel, they have different approach. They're trying to simplify things as much as possible from my point of view. And even this year, they're trying to get rid of some features which are not directly connected to product analytics. For example, this year, they're deprecating A/B testing because it's not directly product analytics feature, and they recommend some integration instead.
Oh, that's interesting.
On the other hand, in Amplitude, they have A/B testing included, and I don't think they plan to deprecate it in the near future.
Okay, I didn't even realize that Mixpanel has A/B testing. What type of A/B testing do they have? But you're saying they're going to remove this functionality anyway, so maybe it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. They're going to deprecate it, so we didn't put the effort to try it.
I see. And did they explain why they're going to deprecate it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, exactly as I said, they just want to focus on product analytics, and they want to do one thing and do it well. And
I see. Interesting.
It's also interesting for me. I was a little bit surprised that they're removing features. It's not a common practice these days,
Yeah, it really depends which system you're looking at, and also depends on clients what they like. If people have preference for one platform that does it all, or smaller platforms that each one will do one thing very, very good, but then you might have some issues with either overlapping functionalities or integrations or something like that.
Yeah, so my feeling is that Mixpanel is trying to make it as simple as possible.
Can you tell us a bit about the integration? How do you tell Mixpanel, what type of information you're trying to collect about your application?
The implementation process is not that simple. You need to start with some plan, and you need to realize what do you want to track and what are your metrics and stuff like that. And after that, you need to implement these in the code, which takes much less time than the first step. The planning phase was the longest for us. But when the implementation is ready and you're sending the events, you just need to wait some time to allow the tool to collect some data, and then it's quite simple to get all the reports you need.
I see. So when you have a new feature, let's say you introduce a new feature in your application, and you want to tell Mixpanel that you want to start tracking this feature, how users are using it. What are the steps that needs to be done to make that happen?
To implement the feature, when implementing the feature, you just need to remember about Mixpanel that you want to track the events related to that feature. But tracking the event itself is done in the code, and most of the time it's just one-liner. So you just have to agree with the team what the event should be called, and then developers can add this one line which sends the event to Mixpanel. So it's quite straightforward.
Okay, but you do have to have the developers part of the loop to add this type, the feature or whatever events you are trying to track on Mixpanel. You have to raise it through the application.
Exactly.
I see.
How does it fit within your greater product stack or technology stack? Do you use it for all your product analytics, or do you take the data outside of there? Do you use other tools like Power BI, Tableau to do your data analysis?
There are multiple levels. Like we send data to Mixpanel from front end, also from our backend. We use their SDKs. So also we use their REST APIs. So we send events from various sources there. And as for the integrations with Mixpanel, we export data also through APIs to, for example, for emailing or remarketing purposes. So we integrate it with Google Ads and stuff like that.
Okay, so then that was one of the features. Its ability to work with marketing was one of the features why you liked it. Are there any features? Are there any features about it that you wish were better or that you wish it had?
What would be really nice, and they don't support, as far as I'm aware of, is they don't have integration with Intercom.
So for example, what did you wanted to do with Intercom to be able to raise events with Intercom?
We would like to synchronize the cohorts and user base from Mixpanel to Intercom.
Oh, I see. So these cohorts you're talking about, these are like type of segmented users and how you analyze how they use the system. You have cohorts in Mixpanel, or are they coming also from your application, and then you can tell who did what and what type of user did it?
Cohorts are coming only from Mixpanel. You're setting up cohorts inside of Mixpanel and you're exporting them and use them in another tools. For example, as I said, in Google Ads.
Okay, so when you're trying to understand different type of users, you will set up those cohorts in Mixpanel, if I understand correctly, and then you could also create or analyze their usage, or so create reports in Mixpanel to understand how different users will use the system in different ways.
True. Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you're using Google Ads. Are you also using Google Analytics for any analytics?
Yeah, sure. We're using Google Analytics for a website and more marketing-related analytics, but it's not suitable for product analytics for us. You can't get the real behavior data. You just can get conversions and events.
Yeah, I found that also with Google Analytics, but for some reason there are some people that are still using Google Analytics as their main analytics product for products, not just for their marketing websites. And but I did find the same thing, that it's a much harder product to use for.
It's definitely possible to do because Google Analytics allows for tracking events, custom events from your product, but the reports are just somewhere else compared to product analytics, the data you need.
Yes. And in Mixpanel, you have a specific feature base, like you can name them based on the feature, so you know exactly what feature is that. Because in Google Analytics, you can't really do something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And in Mixpanel, you can always rename the events on the fly after you've tracked them.
Right, so you can then name to names that make sense to your product rather than a URL name or something like that. where Google Analytics is much more strict about these things. As far as I remember, I've used it for many years ago, but I don't think it's changed that much since then. Now, can you give us maybe one example of such usage that you did? How did you, a value that you find from this type of information that you analyzed?
Yes. For example, if I give a really concrete example, lately we were designing a new navigation in our app, and what we did was that we checked some most common paths in the app, and this way we could do some informed decisions when designing the feature. So we could see the paths user are navigating in our app, and we could design navigation accordingly, for example.
Nice. And was this like one of those reports that coming out of the box, or you had to design your own report inside Mixpanel?
This can be easily done by the flows report, which comes out of the box.
So it shows you how people move around in the application?
Exactly, yeah.
I see. Nice.
Another thing we use it for is, for example, we from time to time we release a dummy feature and we do a demand testing, so we can see whether users are interacting with the dummy feature, and this way we can prioritize development of some features for other ones. It's so interesting to see.
Oh, that's nice. Is there any examples of a dummy feature is there any example of a dummy feature that you were surprised by?
We had a dummy feature for machine translations, which weren't there yet, but there was a suggestion that there is some machine translation, and when user click it, we just sent an event.
Okay. That's nice. Yeah, translation's obviously a big thing these days. So that's interesting to see your users engage with that feature. So is there anything about, since it is a product analytics tool, has it done anything, deliver any actionable insights that you were not anticipating or not looking for? Did it help kind of bring up some questions about your product?
I think there were some features we were expecting that users will be interacting with more, but they were just kind of abandoned.
Yeah.
This is always interesting to see. And also we can see, for example, which integrations are our users most interested in, and then we can push these forward. But these were obviously different integrations that we were expecting it would be.
Yeah. And that's great, and that's what it's for, and that's what's so exciting about the product analytics tools, is that they do highlight things that you weren't expecting and kind of shed light on things that you were hoping would work but don't. So I think that's why they have such an advantage when it comes to user adoption, user growth, and scaling your business, especially for a startup. You want to know these insights quickly. You want to be able to take action on them. So it sounds like Mixpanel is really helping to provide those details in a real user-friendly manner. So that's exciting to hear.
And if I can give you one more example of what we're using Mixpanel for example, when we're developing a new feature, we can export a cohort of users who might be potentially interested in it and who meet some criteria, and we can, for example, send them an email and ask if they're interested to test it. And we can then further develop some communication with them, do a user interview, stuff like that, which is also really helpful.
Does it give you an ability to do surveys?
No, it's not included.
Okay.
But we can use these cohorts and send surveys to these cohorts exported from Mixpanel.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, which is already helpful.
And you probably use a different tool for that.
Yeah. We use Typeform for surveys.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where it differs from other products like Pando, and this is geared more towards the analytics, data side of things.
Yeah, this is going back to something I said earlier. This is where some companies are taking the approach of just being good at one thing and focusing on that, and other companies are taking the approach of being a platform that does many different things related to the same personas or the same market, right? So this is definitely one of those differences between these two products, Mixpanel and Pando, and I think also some other products like that. Yeah. You mentioned also that one of the requirements was that it will have an API. I think that the requirement was that you can export data from Mixpanel, right? Rather than
the requirement was to export data, but we don't want to do it manually.
Right.
We want to automate it.
So what do you use that already, or what do you use it for?
Yeah, we use it for automatically exporting cohorts and sending emails to these cohorts.
So mainly for
when we
that.
need them. Yeah.
I see.
And you don't want to do it manually every time.
Right. I think that also Matt asked earlier about other type of data analytics system like Tableau or Power BI, because some companies will have sources for data from many different places. One of them will be your own product database, and others will be like you mentioned Google Ads, so you could have, I think, data coming from there as well. So some companies will have a data warehouse where they will merge all the data from all the different systems in one big warehouse, and will be able to get even more understanding of their users from analyzing the data from everywhere, not just from each system specifically. So I was just wondering if that's something you already do or not yet.
No, we're too small at that point.
Yeah, I figured sometime in startup, like you and I've been in that place as well.
Yeah.
Exactly that. I even saw some people in startups saying that they don't really care about data in the first few years, which really blew my mind. I'm like, how come you don't care about data? Now, they were one of those, he said it after he already was very successful and he sold a lot of apps and did a lot of money, but maybe his experience was very unique for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but I was quite surprised when I heard that.
What can I say from my perspective is that we use Mixpanel to get this overview of what users are doing and what is their behavior. But the most valuable data, most of the times, we get from users directly by talking to them.
That's definitely true. Qualitative data versus the quantitative data.
I think that the qualitative data is really important for small startups, because you don't have that much quantitative data to get some real statistically significant.
That's true. That's very true.
Results from them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Cool. So some of the other things we're interested to hear also about these products is not just about the product itself, but also about the company that behind that product. Because if we invest our time to implement a specific product with and then collecting it, integrating it, and there is quite a work and investment in there, we want to go with also a company that will help us doing it in the long run. So how was your experience with the Mixpanel with the company?
My first contact with the company was with the account manager, and she offered me the startup credits from Mixpanel. So that was a positive experience. Then I had a couple of support requests regarding the JavaScript SDKs, and they responded in a very timely manner.
So you had good experience with them?
Yeah, it sounds like a good experience. Yeah, that's really good. So it sounds like they're really supportive, and
they also have a community running where you can ask questions, which are not exactly support questions, but they're more like, how should I approach this problem? So sometimes you can get right answers there, or you can ask.
Yeah, I think that's great. A lot of products you come across, I coming from the data and analytics space, something like Power BI has a strong community where you can get insights and people ask questions that you might already have on your mind and you might want answered. So that's great that they have a community, working together to build product.
Yeah. And one of the questions I always ask about companies is from the interactions with them. I don't really follow them like on LinkedIn or Twitter or any other media, but I usually look at companies and see if what they say and what they do seems like they're obsessing about us, about their users. because as product managers, we want to be obsessed about our users, and we want to make them happy and get the value to them, and see that they're really finding this amazing value in our products. So the same way, us as product managers, we want the companies that we're using their product to be obsessed about us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are their users.
Exactly. You're the customer experience.
Exactly. So is that something that you have noticed from them?
To be honest, I don't feel it this way, because they don't even know about us, I would say, because we're really small compared to their other clients.
Mm-hmm.
But I see some activity on social media, and they're all the time posting some, I would say, really good content about product analytics.
Yep.
So if you check out their blog, they have really nice content, and you can actually learn. Yeah, you can learn some useful stuff from there.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that attracted me to Mixpanel was their online content, their blogs. They had some really good articles on there, so that was one of the things that I thought was great.
But I cannot tell if they're obsessing about their users. I don't know.
You're actually raising a very interesting question, and I'm just throwing it out there to you guys and at our audience. When is it that a company needs to really show its clients that they're obsessed about them? Do you need to be of a certain size, or should they obsess about each one of us and really show that they care about us? You know what I mean? So if I'm a startup and I'm only a few users, the fact that the company doesn't know about me, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or maybe it's not. Maybe
it's a good question.
Good or bad.
It's a really good question. I think it's because if you go to their website, they bring up innovation and wanting to help their customers innovate and build better product. And what better than a startup? Granted, the startup's probably not generating the revenue for you that some of the bigger customers are. But if your true mission is to innovate and build better product, help your customers build better product, wouldn't a startup be a great example of doing that? Be like, hey, we our product helped Jan with his product analytics and helped scale their business into X amount of money. So that's worth asking for sure.
And it's not just for Mixpanel; it's for every company.
It's for exactly. It's for all of them. Yeah.
And for us as well, when we obsess about our own clients, and if we have startup versus growth versus enterprise, whatever. When should we obsess about all of them or whatever? Customer success, it will be interesting to speak with customer success people, because some of them are also using these applications, and they would be sometimes put in this program of customer success to a certain size of organizations based on the potential that they see in there. But it's not always about the potential to the company. It's also like really going back to these roots. How do we obsess about our clients, and do they all have the same value, or they have different values? It's really interesting. Excellent.
One of the questions I had with the previous guest was, do you consider it a product analytics tool? And it sounds like you do. It sounds like that's what they consider themselves, as a product analytics tool. In a previous conversation, we talked about Pando and whether Pando was a product analytics tool. But now that we've spoken about Mixpanel, it sounds like they are two separate things, focusing on maybe a specialized realm versus a more general realm. Would you say that having Mixpanel in your company has been a benefit? It sounds like it has, but I wonder what your final thoughts were.
To me, it really doesn't matter what type of product analytics tool it is, but for me, it's a must-have. So I don't care if it's Mixpanel or Amplitude. I just need this tool to be in place and be able to use it. But Mixpanel makes it really pleasant to use. It makes it transparent for us to access all the data. So it's really beneficial. We can give real value to users by looking into Mixpanel and analyzing the data we have there.
Yeah, and I've been in places where we were considering, are we continuing with a specific tool or not? And it was as simple as, becoming blind. Once you started using it, or using a data analytics system for your product, if you close it up and you don't use it anymore, then you're really becoming blind again. towards how users are using your application, etc. And you mentioned before situations like features that users did not use at all, or didn't use as much as you expected them to use, and different things like that.
Well, Jan, thanks for joining us. Is there anywhere that our listeners could find you the best, or is there anything that you'd like to mention before we wrap up the call?
You can find me or contact me on LinkedIn, my name, Jan Bilek, or you can find me on Twitter. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions about Mixpanel or our company, Localazy. And I'm always happy to answer any questions or help.
Thanks again so much for joining us today, Jan. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for
really great to talk with you,
yeah.
and look forward to hearing more about your company and your growth in the future. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Jan. Thank you, Matt.
Take care.